In the quiet suburb of Maplewood, life revolved around the ideals of community and cooperation fostered by the local homeowners association, HOA. It was a place where neighbors exchanged pleasantries and children played in manicured lawns. Jennifer, a devoted daughter, had always cherished the serene existence her mother enjoyed in this neighborhood. With a modest but vibrant home, her mother, Margaret, thrived in this supportive environment, until everything changed. It began subtly. An unexplained odor wafted through the house, and tap water seemingly took on a strange taste. First dismissing it as a minor inconvenience, Jennifer scheduled routine tests for her mother's water supply. The results were shocking. Hazardous contaminants were present, prompting Jennifer to dig deeper into the sources of the problem. As she navigated conversations with both the HOA board and local authorities, a web of deceit began to unravel. Rumors suggested the HOA had cut corners to save on maintenance costs, neglecting water quality regulations in their pursuit of profit. Far from being the bastion of trustworthiness they claimed to be, the HOA seemed implicated in an escalating crisis that threatened her mother's health and well-being. Faced with mounting concern for her mother's safety and feeling powerless against the association's dismissive attitude, Jennifer knew she had to take action. The harmonious facade of Maplewood was cracked, exposing a battle simmering beneath its surface, a conflict that would change everything for Jennifer and her family. It was time to redefine the terms of engagement with the HOA in a way they would never expect. The unsettling signs had been there for weeks, but it wasn't until Jennifer visited her mother one afternoon that everything came to a head. As she entered the cozy home filled with the scent of freshly baked cookies, an acrid odor quickly cut through the warmth. Margaret, oblivious to the change, smiled and offered her a glass of water, but Jennifer hesitated. The once clear liquid now appeared slightly cloudy, and a strange metallic taste lingered on her tongue. Concerned but trying to remain composed, Jennifer suggested they have the water tested. The results were alarming. High levels of lead and other harmful substances lurked within what should have been a safe supply. Panic surged through her as she imagined the potential harm done to her mother's health over time. How could this happen in their well-maintained community? Determined to find answers, Jennifer combed through local regulations and reached out to neighbors, discovering they had also experienced similar issues. The deeper she dug, the more unsettling the revelations became. It appeared that the HOA had recently made budget cuts that affected water maintenance services, leading to lax safety measures and inadequate oversight. Jennifer felt a mix of anger and disbelief. The very organization meant to safeguard their quality of life was now a source of danger. As she gathered evidence of the contamination, it became clear that confronting this issue would not only be about protecting her mother but also about holding the HOA accountable for their negligence. With resolve hardening inside her, she began plotting her next steps in this unexpected battle for justice. Armed with the unsettling test results, Jennifer embarked on a meticulous investigation to uncover the source of her mother's contaminated water. She started by reaching out to the local water authority for information, trying to ascertain if there had been any recent infrastructure issues in Maplewood that could explain the contamination spike. Conversations with officials yielded little insight. They maintained everything was running smoothly, casting doubt on Jennifer's growing concerns. Determined to dig deeper, she turned to the internet, poring over local forums and news articles. It didn't take long for her suspicions to grow as she stumbled upon reports from other residents who had encountered similar problems. Their accounts of strange odors and discoloration echoed her own experiences, painting a grim picture of a community grappling with unseen dangers. Next, Jennifer decided to confront the members of the HOA at their next meeting, rallying support from concerned neighbors to attend. The tension in the room was palpable when she presented the contamination data alongside witness testimonies from fellow residents. While some HOA members attempted to downplay the issue, others were visibly unsettled by the mounting evidence against them. As months of negligence came into sharper focus, Jennifer began connecting seemingly unrelated dots. Budget cuts that hindered maintenance, lapses in safety checks, and a lack of transparency regarding water quality testing. Each revelation fueled her determination to expose the truth and seek justice for her mother and their community. With every piece of information collected, she felt closer to confronting the very organization that had betrayed the trust of its residents. The night of the HOA meeting arrived, and an air of apprehension hung over the community center. Jennifer gathered with a small group of concerned residents outside, their faces a mixture of determination and anxiety. Together, they formulated a plan to confront the board, armed with evidence and testimonies from neighbors whose health had been jeopardized by the water contamination. As they entered the packed room, Jennifer felt her heart race. The usual atmosphere of camaraderie was replaced by tension as she noticed the board members exchanging worried glances. When it was her turn to speak, she took a deep breath and stepped forward, clutching her notes tightly. "Thank you for allowing me to address the board tonight," she began, her voice steady despite the pounding in her chest. She presented the shocking test results from her mother's water supply, backed by data from other affected residents. As she spoke about the potential dangers posed by lead contamination and the neglect of safety protocols, murmurs rippled through the audience. Some HOA members attempted to deflect blame, claiming that external factors were to blame for the issues, while others dismissed her concerns as exaggerated. However, Jennifer pressed on, detailing how recent budget cuts had compromised maintenance and safety checks. Each point she made seemed to resonate more deeply with those in attendance. By the end of her presentation, whispers of support grew among attendees. It became clear that many shared her anger and frustration. With renewed resolve, Jennifer knew this fight was about more than just her mother. It was about reclaiming their community's safety and integrity from an organization that had long betrayed its residents' trust. After the intense HOA meeting, Jennifer felt a renewed sense of purpose, but she also knew that confronting the board was only the beginning. To truly protect her mother and the community, she needed to understand the legal landscape surrounding water rights and how they could be leveraged against the HOA. Sitting at her kitchen table, surrounded by piles of documents and her laptop, she delved into legal research with relentless determination. Jennifer discovered that water rights in their state were complex, often favoring existing entities like the HOA but allowing for individual property owners to challenge them under certain circumstances. She read through various statutes and case studies, uncovering precedents where homeowners had successfully challenged associations on similar grounds, often due to negligence. As she pieced together this information, Jennifer realized that if she could acquire the water rights from a nearby source, it could provide her leverage against the HOA. The thought of cutting off their access to water sparked a fierce resolve within her. She began reaching out to local water authorities and private entities, inquiring about purchasing or leasing water rights. In addition to this tactical approach, Jennifer sought legal counsel to guide her through potential repercussions and pitfalls. Her attorney emphasized the importance of documentation and careful planning. One misstep could jeopardize her efforts. Armed with newfound knowledge and a strategic plan, Jennifer felt ready to take on the HOA not just as an individual fighting for her mother, but as a determined advocate for all residents affected by this crisis. The battle was escalating, and she was prepared to fight for justice. After weeks of research and planning, Jennifer finally gathered enough information to make a pivotal decision: she would buy the water rights from a nearby source. This move felt like a bold gamble, but the potential payoff was too significant to ignore. With the HOA's negligence on full display, having control over an alternative water supply could not only protect her mother but also serve as a powerful tool against the HOA's authority. Determined, Jennifer reached out to local water rights holders, initiating conversations that felt both daunting and exhilarating. She learned about the complexities involved in purchasing these rights, including negotiations with private owners and compliance with state regulations, yet the thought of reclaiming control ignited a fierce urgency within her. She envisioned a future where her mother and neighbors would no longer have to worry about contaminated water. Navigating through meetings with local officials and potential sellers, Jennifer honed her negotiation skills. Each conversation reinforced her resolve, as she shared her story with stakeholders who began to understand the gravity of the situation in Maplewood. The more she explained the community's plight, the more allies she found who were willing to support her cause. On the day of the critical negotiation, Jennifer felt both anxious and empowered. She stood firm in her conviction that acquiring these water rights could shift the balance of power away from the HOA and fundamentally change the narrative of their struggle. With determination etched on her face, she was ready to take this essential step toward justice for her mother and their community. The day of the buyout came, and Jennifer felt a mix of excitement and trepidation as she arrived at the small office of the local water rights holder. The atmosphere was surprisingly casual, but the stakes were anything but low. She was greeted by a seasoned negotiator, Michael, who had handled similar transactions before. His calm demeanor put her at ease, yet she understood the importance of remaining focused. As they sat down to discuss terms, Jennifer presented her research and articulated her goals clearly. She aimed not just to secure water rights for her mother's home but also to create a viable alternative for the entire community. Michael listened attentively as she detailed how the HOA's negligence had led to a crisis, emphasizing that this buyout could restore safety and trust in Maplewood. The negotiation process unfolded with its own set of challenges. Discussions about financial terms were punctuated by legal jargon that occasionally left Jennifer feeling overwhelmed. However, armed with her research and passionate resolve, she navigated through each hurdle with determination. She pushed back against initial offers that undervalued the rights she sought, knowing that this was not just about money, it was about justice. After several tense hours filled with counteroffers and discussions, they finally reached an agreement that felt fair. As they shook hands to seal the deal, Jennifer's heart soared with hope. This was more than a transaction. It was a turning point in her battle against the HOA and a crucial step toward reclaiming her mother's safety and well-being. With newfound determination, she prepared to implement her plan to cut off the HOA's water access and safeguard her community. With the water rights secured, Jennifer knew it was time to implement her plan and cut off the HOA's access to the contaminated supply. The moment was monumental. She felt both nervous and exhilarated as she prepared to take such a definitive action against an organization that had long overlooked the health of its residents. On a Thursday morning, she gathered her closest allies, neighbors who shared her concerns, and together they headed to the water distribution site. Jennifer had coordinated with local officials, who had agreed to assist in the transition of access rights. Armed with documentation and a sense of purpose, they approached the facility where water was sourced for the HOA. As they arrived, Jennifer took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. She alerted the facility staff about the change in ownership regarding the water rights and presented her legal documents that authorized this decisive action. The staff looked initially taken aback but quickly understood that this wasn't just an ordinary request. They were witnessing a community member reclaiming their safety. When they finally shut off access to the HOA's water supply, an electrifying sense of empowerment surged through Jennifer and her supporters. They stood together, watching as trucks destined for HOA properties were redirected. This bold accent ripples through Maplewood, showcasing that residents could no longer be silenced. However, even amid their victory, Jennifer knew this was merely one battle in a broader war against negligence and corruption. With determination brewing inside her, she began preparing for potential backlash from the HOA as well as strategizing how to ensure ongoing support from her neighbors in this transformative fight for their community's future. After cutting off the HOA's access to the contaminated water supply, the news rapidly spread through Maplewood, igniting a mix of reactions among the residents. Some applauded Jennifer's bold move, viewing her as a champion for their health and safety. Conversations erupted in cafes, parks, and public spaces as neighbors exchanged expressions of relief and gratitude. Many felt empowered by her actions, realizing that collective voices could indeed make a difference. However, not everyone shared the same enthusiasm. A faction of homeowners loyal to the HOA expressed outrage and fear over what they perceived as an irrational act that could lead to further instability in the community. Rumors circulated about potential legal repercussions, and this faction began rallying around the HOA, reinforcing their loyalty with claims that Jennifer's actions were reckless and could threaten property values. Tensions peaked when Jennifer organized a community meeting to discuss next steps and gather support. The atmosphere was charged. Residents who backed her initiative showed up in droves, but so did skeptics and supporters of the HOA. As Jennifer presented her vision for ensuring safe water for everyone, she encouraged open dialogue. The discourse became heated at times, reflecting deep-seated fears about change and distrust of authority. Despite the polarized reactions, it became increasingly clear that Jennifer stood at the forefront of a pivotal moment in Maplewood. She recognized that unifying her neighbors would take patience and empathy amidst the chaos. With renewed determination, she resolved to foster ongoing discussions, aiming to turn this initial victory into a sustained movement toward accountability and community wellness. Building bridges would be essential as they faced the challenges ahead together. In the days following Jennifer's bold move to cut off the HOA's access to the contaminated water supply, the consequences of her actions began to unfold. Initially, there was a palpable sense of victory among those who supported her. Community members expressed their gratitude, feeling empowered by Jennifer's courage. However, this triumph quickly came with complications. The HOA retaliated fiercely, launching a public campaign to discredit Jennifer and paint her actions as reckless. They claimed that her decision jeopardized water security for all residents, stirring fear and uncertainty among homeowners who were already loyal to the association. Legal threats loomed, and rumors circulated about potential lawsuits against her for damages related to the disruption of water supply. As tensions escalated, Jennifer faced not only external pressures but also personal challenges. Friends and neighbors who once supported her began to waver under the weight of fear instilled by the HOA's rhetoric. Some even distanced themselves from her, as they weighed the risks of aligning with someone deemed a troublemaker. Recognizing the fragile state of community support, Jennifer doubled down on her efforts to communicate openly and transparently. She organized another town hall meeting, this time inviting experts to discuss water safety and legal rights in an effort to counteract misinformation spread by the HOA. As she stood before her neighbors once more, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. Overcoming these obstacles would require resilience and unity. Determined not to let fear dictate their future, she sought to inspire hope and solidarity among residents, reinforcing that their collective voice was powerful enough to challenge any threat they faced together. Amidst the chaos of community reactions and escalating tensions, Jennifer found herself reflecting deeply on the ethical implications of her actions. As she confronted the complexities of her situation, she grappled with a myriad of questions. Was it justifiable to cut off water access, even from an organization that had neglected its responsibilities? Had she crossed a line in her pursuit of safety for her mother and neighbors? While she believed wholeheartedly in her cause, the fallout weighed heavily on her conscience. Jennifer understood that her actions, while aimed at protecting public health, could also have unintended consequences for those who did not share her perspective. The HOA's narrative painted her as a radical, and she worried about the division it created within the community. She considered the moral responsibility that comes with leadership, balancing personal conviction with the need for dialogue and inclusivity. Sitting quietly in her living room one evening, Jennifer reviewed her motives. She had sought justice out of love for her mother and a desire to safeguard all residents. However, she recognized that effective advocacy required more than just passion. It demanded empathy and the ability to listen to differing viewpoints. Determined to foster healing and understanding, Jennifer began crafting a plan to reach out to those who opposed her. She envisioned creating opportunities for open discussions where grievances could be aired, aiming to bridge the widening gap. By acknowledging her neighbors' fears and concerns, she hoped to transform not just the narrative about water safety but also the way they viewed each other as a community facing shared challenges together. As the dust began to settle in Maplewood, Jennifer realized that the journey ahead would require more than just her initial bold actions. It would demand a commitment to healing and collaboration within the community. After successfully securing a safe water supply, she felt a renewed sense of responsibility, not only to her mother but to all residents who had been affected by the recent crisis. To foster this spirit of unity, Jennifer organized a series of community workshops aimed at educating residents about water safety, rights, and collective advocacy. She invited experts in environmental health and community organizing to share knowledge and strategies, empowering individuals to take an active role in safeguarding their neighborhood. This initiative served as a platform for open dialogue, allowing both supporters and skeptics of her actions to voice their opinions and concerns. Recognizing the importance of transparency, Jennifer began publishing a monthly newsletter that detailed progress on water quality testing and upcoming community events. Through consistent communication, she aimed to rebuild trust with those who had distanced themselves during the turmoil. Slowly but surely, the atmosphere in Maplewood began to shift. Residents started to come together, sharing ideas and forming committees focused on neighborhood improvements and environmental stewardship. Jennifer's dedication inspired others to step forward as leaders in their own right. Ultimately, while the battle against negligence had been won, the path toward a stronger, more cohesive community was just beginning. With emerging alliances and newfound purpose, Jennifer felt optimistic about the future, knowing that they could face challenges together, stronger as a community than they had ever been before.